All right, now we're going to start the Don Stewart visual pun pen drawings. Don Stewart is an artist. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to read about Don Stewart. This is actually a book, and it'll be in the classroom that you can look through about his artwork and kind of how he became an artist. He actually went to school first, medical school, and was going to become a doctor and I believe a surgeon, and took an art class to kind of ease the pressure of all the other classes he was taking, and found out that he loved it and became an artist. And then there's a whole interview with him where he actually talks about his artwork and what he uses. And just as a side note, he talks about the pens that he uses, and he uses Papermate pens. So you will be using Papermate pens just like Don Stewart. So you will be learning about Don Stewart and creating just like him. So Don Stewart is the artist. Like I said, you're going to read the article and you're going to answer the questions on him. This will be kind of the introduction, get to know him a little bit and what he's about. Visual puns. It's kind of like idiom sayings. You know how when you have trouble opening the cabinets and I say put a little elbow grease in it, meaning pull a little bit harder? That is an idiom. It's a saying. It takes like a visual that you wouldn't necessarily put together with the words, but that kind of thing. So the first thing you're going to do to kind of start getting into this is you're going to work in a group. And you're going to be divided up, I would say 4 to 5 people, so probably 2 groups per table will be about what it is. And you're going to go through this. Each group will get this paper. This is a class set, so you're not taking this paper with you. You're going to leave it at the table. The visual pun explains it's a play on words, usually the assignment or different meanings to similar sounding words or phrases with a humorous intent. Visual pun is a drawing, cartoon, photographed, something like this, depicting objects arranged so that the names of the objects or their description of the placement suggests a play on words. So we're talking about play on words here. So kind of like examples are like a hot dog. You know, where obviously you might be talking about the actual food, but if you visualize it, you could, visualize a dog laying in the sun panting, oh, I'm hot. How about fast food, which is actually on the cover of Don Stewart's book. This is his version of fast food. It's a motorcycle where every part of it is made up of food. Like the wheel part, those are all waffles. The tire is actually an Oreo cookie. We have a banana. The little rim is Wrigley's gum. We have the Hershey Kiss for the light. Pretzels around this one. I mean, everything in this, when you look at it as a whole, it's a motorcycle. When you look at it closely, everything is made up of food. Okay, so fast food. So it's again, play on words. So as a group, you're going to get a list of words. So each group, so like this is for period 3, each group is going to get just a little list of words. As a group, you're going to look at them and you're going to decide which one, but you're going to pick like 4 that you kind of like and talk about them. Out of the whole list, you're going to talk about 4 of them and kind of start to see what would that look like if you really put those words exactly how they're used. What would it look like? Like a hot dog laying, a dog laying in the sun. How would you break it down visually? So as a group, you're going to look at the list, discuss what you think they actually mean, and then what they sound like they mean. You're going to describe and discuss a picture that would illustrate several of these puns. So at least 4 of them. You're going to pick out 4 of them and you're going to talk about what would they look like visually. Step 3, each group member needs to create a quick line sketch of a simple pun from the ones that you've discussed. So each one of you are going to pick, and you can all do the same one. You can all do different ones. You're going to do the one that you like out of the 4 you've discussed, and you're going to do just a quick sketch of what you think it would look like. Then, No, step 4, you're going to decide as a group whose drawing best represents the pun and finish the drawing to be shown to the rest of the class. So you'll look at each other's and you'll be like, you know what, this one is awesome. Let's go with this. And you're going to create it. And the whole group, that's going to be your visual pun. Then, and that's what you're going to show. Then it says, step 5, each group will show their one drawing to the class. Do not tell them what it means. You're going to hold it up and show it, and the class has to guess what the actual saying was from what you drew. So like if I showed the motorcycle and it's all food, each other group gets a chance to guess what was the saying behind the drawing. Even if a group guesses correctly, don't tell them they're correct yet. Each group gets a chance to guess. Then, so step 6, every group has a chance to guess. Even if a group guesses correctly, every group still gets to answer. Then the group whose drawing is shown will reveal what the actual pun is, whether or not they got it correctly. And then, you can have kind of a quick little discussion, especially with those that maybe guessed wrong. Why did they miss it? Like what was wrong with the drawing that they didn't get it, and how did the other ones get it? So it's kind of giving us this way to think about how images and words play with each other in our visual drawing. You're going to repeat step 6, that where everyone gets, for every group gets to show their drawing, every group gets to guess on each group's drawing. And then grading. For this part, you're going to grade each person in your group based on, did they participate, did they stay on task, were they willing to work as a team, and did they contribute ideas. This is worth 20 points. Look, there's nothing in here about you being a fantastic drawer or that your group guessed it correctly. This is all about how did you work together as a team to be able to show this. So you're going to be graded on the group work. Each one of you is going to hopefully earn all 20 points. Then what you're going to do is start coming up with shapes. And Mr. Judge will probably do it on the board, or maybe he'll have you draw it on your papers, that kind of thing. But you're going to come up with shapes. The purpose is for you to start recognizing shapes, but in different contexts. So example, you guys are going to come up with a list of different geometric shapes. So maybe, circles, squares, triangles, rectangles, octagons, hexagons, parallelograms, whatever shapes you come up with, make a list of them, okay? Then think about, you're going to draw these shapes out on your paper as well. So and you can even do it on the back of your sketch. You can do it on the back of the pun drawing. Wherever you have paper to do this, you're going to draw these shapes. Then step 3, as a group, so as a class, spend some time thinking about, okay, if you do a triangle, so let's say if I draw a triangle on the board, what kinds of things, other things could a triangle represent? It could be a slice of pizza. How about some cake? Maybe a party hat? A clown hat? Let's see. It could be a tree. You're going to think about all these different things that shape could represent. Just random things. And do that for each and every object, because you're going to need these ideas to kind of filter in more ideas. Then you're going to actually start the project. So the first part of this, you're going to read about Don Stewart so you get a better feel for who he is and how these drawings came to be. As a group then, you're going to work to figure out how to create visual puns. As a team, you're going to guess, you're going to talk about different shapes and what they can mean. Then you will actually start the work. Okay? So that's the first part. Let me get this stuff ready for the second part. Okay, let's go over the actual directions and what needs to be done and then we'll talk a little bit about this. So, the project objective. My job for this project is to create a symbolic ballpoint pen, Papermate, drawing, rendering it an extreme sensitivity to light, shade, and details. Values, you have to include values, dark to light, and all those grays in between. By the end of the project, I will have created a three-dimensional, so that it looks rounded, tonal, having values, symbolic pen drawing using correct shading techniques, hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and squircling. Now, you should have already gotten this paper when for the Sharpie shoe drawing. This should still be in your binder. This gives you what cross-hatching, or hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, squircling, what it looks like. You know, all the different images. This is an image done with stippling. This one is done with cross-hatching. What the spheres look like. What different spheres look like. With the pen now. You did this with Sharpie for the last project. Now you're using pen. You're going to create a value scale from dark to light using hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and then you can do the squircling in your choice. On the back side of this, just like this one, you're going to create, and you can just do the ink, you're going to create the stippling, the cross-hatching, you can do the straight lines, contour lines, scribbling, and a combination so that each of these circles become a sphere so that they no longer look flat, they now look rounded. So that gives you practice for when you actually get to your drawings so that they start looking rounded. So, what you will need to use, materials, number 2 pencil. You're going to be using thumbnail sketch paper to come up with your ideas. The ballpoint pen, black is what you're going to be using. 9x12 drawing paper. This handout so that you know what to look for. The class copy so that you know what to see. And then even in here it says a book, poem, song, or song lyrics. If you're having trouble coming up with ideas, maybe look at your favorite book or a favorite poem or your favorite song, as long as it's school appropriate, and think about the lyrics, the words that compose that. And is there anything in there that you could make into a visual? So if you're having a hard time coming up with one of your own, or you're like, I just don't know, maybe pull some of that into that. Start looking at that. Look to other places for ideas. This doesn't necessarily have to be a pun. It can be something about you. You're going to have at your tables past student works, examples. Here's one. This student, she entitled it Pieces of Me. It is a self-portrait that she did. The entire thing is all items that she likes, that she's interested in, sports that she plays, music that she played. I mean, her nose is a ballet slipper. She has a calculator in her forehead. I mean, everything. The lollipop for part of her hair, her watch for over her shoulder. Every single thing in this drawing pertained to her somehow, personally. So you got some options here. One, it can be an actual visual pun. Let me see if I have it. This one, she entitled it Sweet Tooth. So it's a picture of a molar, okay, or tooth. The entire thing has all candies, like candy apples and fruit and ice cream. And we have taffy up here and pretzels. So she actually did a visual pun, Sweet Tooth, and created a tooth made of all candy, where this student made it all about her. It was very personal to her. Those are 2 options. The third one is taking a book or a poem and kind of doing it that way. This one a student did from a Christmas story that he liked growing up. So he took the main image of the story, and then within the image, all the little parts are other parts of the story. Okay? Same thing with this one. another kind of Christmas story, but it was all about like the little child in the story and all the things that they went through. So again, it was this nighttime story that she would read, or that her parents would read to her. So it's the moon to represent the nighttime when she'd read it at bed, but it's all the different parts of the story coming together. So there's a lot of options here for you to do, okay? So think about that. Vocabulary, cross-hatching, hatching, squircling, stippling, visual pun, symbol, symbolism. So go through there. We've gone through these before, but it's just reiterating them. Some helpful hints. Explore textures, real and simulated, and you can do that on here. Remember, real are like, if you wanted to do like a texture rubbing, and that's where you put the paper over the texture, and you kind of do the rubbing so that you get that texture through the paper, so you know what that texture would look like. Simulated, remember, is like our tabletops. It looks like wood grain, although you can't really feel the wood. That's simulated. Get creative and inventive. Use your imagination on this because it is wide open. You're going to have to plug in what would be a nose and plug in a ballet slipper instead. Okay, so you're going to have to really kind of think outside the box for this. You need to be persistent and patient and have perseverance. You're going to need to slow down. Okay, because again, you're using pen, and once you make that mark on your paper, you can't change it. So slow down. Give yourself some time to do this. Remember, you are replacing inside details with other images, not just filling it in with other images. You're actually replacing parts of it with something else. So you're taking that part out and putting something else in. Although you will be doing this a little in like the bigger areas. So not the whole thing. Like there might be parts that you don't change. You're going to be adding shading techniques, hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and squircling. We already kind of went through how you're going to practice that. No whiteout. Whatever is there is there. So if you make a mistake, work it in. Because again, the only person who's going to know it's a mistake is you, unless you tell someone. Okay? So that's kind of the first part. We're going to stop this video here, and then I'm going to go on into the directions and then actually show you how one is done and what it looks like and how it's broken down. And then we'll go over the grading rubric and everything like that. Because this is a more involved kind of project. There's several steps to this one. So we're going to stop here, and then the next video, again, we'll go into actually how to do it.